see what happens here, I'll show it to you better on this. Wherever the glue has gone, pulls the foil off and leaves a transparent film. You can see my fingers through here, sort of. Well, not really. Doesn't show well. But you put ugly side. So buy it from, I'm trying to think of all my different manufacturers for stuff because there are so many. And then you hear me cursing and don't see a whole lot. So since I've yet to figure out how to merge videos, this will be in 2 parts, edited without the swearing from the last one since I dropped everything on the floor. And we'll get back to what we were discussing before. We are mixing Palette Deco Clear with silver glass beads, pearl glass beads, and some black glitter. Now this black glitter comes from Douglas & Sturgis out of California, but I also purchased glitter in bulk from Artistic Painting Studio out in California and Chicago Institute of Fine Finishes here in Chicago. If I need bulk, and I mean a lot, like 10 pounds, and yes, I do need that from time to time on jobs, I also purchase from Meadowbrook Industries, and I think their minimum order is 5 pounds. If anybody really wants that information, I will post it in the thread below these videos. But let's get back to what we were doing. So I have put the foils on the skull, and now I'm going to embellish with this. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to put it through a stencil. Now, one of the fun things about being in this industry is that when you order big stencils, or if a company is interested in showing you their new products, specifically stencil companies, they'll often send you little sample stencils. Now this one happens to be from Laser XL. I got this one from stencilgirlproducts.com, and this one last year from Royal Design Studios. How perfect. It's Halloween. I'm working on a skull. I have a skull stencil. So this is awesome. This is going to look fantastic on my skull because I can't leave things well, just as they are. Now the finish we did, like I said before, it's a fantastic finish on its own. I could just top coat it and use it on a furniture piece, this kind of a finish, and it would be perfect. Love it. Great smooth finish. Highly detailed, very rich looking, but being me, I like to add a little something extra. So I'm going to take a little spray adhesive. This is Scotch Super 77. Now I know out there that they try to sell you spray adhesives specifically for stencils that are lower tack. I don't bother with those. I use this, and what I do, and yeah, I'm doing it in my studio, so I'm doing it over my wastebasket for a second because it's so small. I take the spray adhesive, that's it. 2 seconds of spray. I don't waste spray. I don't want to coat the spray on here. All I want is to provide a little tack on the back of this so that it doesn't slide around. It will not prevent product from bleeding, but what will do is keep your stencil stable so that as you move your product over the stencil, you have less chance of a bleed because your stencil's not shifting. I don't put a heavy spray on it, as you saw. And then the other thing you can see me doing is I'm waving it in the air to dry it a little. Why? Because this is wet glue on here, and I don't want to put it on the surface and leave a glue deposit behind, because that's one of those things that people complain about when they use spray adhesive is, how do I keep the glue from coming all over my wall or all over my piece of furniture when I spray the stencil? Well, you have to let it dry a little so that it's just sticky, not so that it's gummy coated and wet. I'm going to turn this around and we'll start doing the glass beadwork on here, and it'll be really cool. Now when it dries, when I'm finished here, it'll still look whitish because the clear product will not have dried clear. In the next day or so, it will start clearing. The thicker you put it on, the longer it takes for the whitishness to go away. But 24, 48, 72 hours, depending on how thick it is, you'll have a very clear product. So, all right, forgive me for some of my once more ever so fine camera work. Alrighty. Got to move this around so I can see. Now, where am I going to put these? I don't know. Let's start with one randomly up here. Okay. I'm going to check to make sure it's fairly square. I don't want my skulls on here crooked. I can pick it up. I can replace it. And there we go. So I've got that on there. Wear gloves. Palette Deco likes to stick to everything. And it will become part of your manicure if you have your nails done. It will become part of your watch face. So yeah, maybe I should take my watch off. I've palette decoed my watch far too many times. And then I have the product here. So how do I apply it? I don't use anything fancy. I use plastic room keys. I travel a lot for work, so I have a lot of these plastic room keys available to me. It became a long-standing joke in my family that every Christmas they'd all pool their room keys together and put a rubber band around them, and it would go into my Christmas stocking. So I always have a lot of these. People just save them for me. Cheapest tool. Now, why do I need something flexible? Because if I use something stiff like a steel trowel, the glass beads in here will go ping, 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 ping all over the place. But with the plastic, I can smooth it on. And you can hear that kind of gritty sound. And oh, it looks like you're using so much. Well, yeah, you have to be generous with the product to get it to fill the stencil. So you can see I'm smoothing it all over the place. Leaving no hole left unfilled. And I try not to have it thicker than the thickness of one single bead. Why? Because it becomes expensive and it's wasteful because you just don't get as much great shimmer and detail if you make it too thick. It just looks like a glob of stuff on there. Okay, so I've done it. I'm pulling my stencil, and there is my skull. Now, I still have plenty of glass beads on here. Eventually, I will clean the stencil off, but right now, since I'm just sort of moving this around and placing it randomly, I'm not worried about that glass bead on there. Actually, I don't want to clean it off too much because I don't want it to get underneath the stencil as I'm still using it. And we're going to just keep troweling gently. Sorry, sliding out of the screen. Keep troweling gently. Don't scrape it. You're just sort of buttering. You can see I'm pressing down a little bit and rolling the beads. I am not scrape. If I scrape them, this is what happens. I pull it all off. I get the scrape marks of the beads moving through the medium with no deposit of beads or glitter. And I pull it up, and there's another one. Let's see. And I'll put one here. A little more product. And again, I don't use a ton of this because, you know, doing a whole surface in this is expensive. Have I done whole surfaces in this? Yes, I have. And my clients have paid for that. But they always, of course, know what the cost is going in. I don't have many clients who just say, do what you want and bill me later. And I do have a few of those, and God love them. They let me have fun. Okay, now you can see I have kind of a big bleed there. I had some that squished underneath, and I'm going to show you how to clean that up. Always happens. Now I have these little teeny tiny Q-tips. They're by a company called Muji in Japan. I picked them up at the airport. Little teeny ones. Regular cotton size ones will work too, but little ones are easier for control. And I just go in and I scoop it off and put it back. In the end, excuse me,